So my question to you is, does Wanda use coconuts as boobies? Welcome to the official, unofficial Sea of Thieves podcast, a podcast dedicated to Sea of Thieves and other rare games, but mainly Sea of Thieves. So with today's episode, we are back discussing the story and lore of the adventures. And this time we will be discussing The Forsaken Hunter, an adventure that had a lot of revelations and saw certain characters being moved to the foreground again. There is honestly a lot to discuss, and to help me out, I am once again assisted by my amazing co-host.
Hey guys, it's AShinyRay. I may sound a bit different today. I am down with the vid-19, but I'm well enough to do the podcast, so don't worry too much about me.
It is AShinyRay. It's not some actor we hired. It is really him. So before we get into it, I just want to remind the listeners that having a podcast on YouTube is not really smart because we're losing money on it. So if you want to help us cover the cost, one way to do that is using Super Thanks. And as a bonus, if you use Super Thanks and ask a question, we will answer it 100% for sure in a future podcast episode. So yeah, if you want to help us out, it's appreciated, but don't feel pressured. We love doing the podcast, so we'll continue either way. So let's go to the main discussion, and that's the adventure. That's the only discussion we have. So before we start discussing the lore, I'm just going to do a quick summary, and I haven't written it down, so it's going to go all from my head. So this adventure starts with yet another favor from Rinna. She asks us to investigate the disappearing of Merrick. Our first stop is to check him out at Stephen's Spoil Sea Post. He is not there. Stephen has no clue at all. He talks about going through Merrick's stuff and maybe stealing something, like any real pirate should do. We find a note. The note hints to, the note is basically luring Merrick to K9. We go there. We meet Belle. She uses her soul flame lantern to see what's happened there, and we see Merrick getting murdered by a masked individual. Then Belle is like, "Oh, I also found this journal. Use this journal to see what happens. Piece it together, and when you're done with that, come back and report on it." So that's what we do. And the first clue points us to Wanderer's Refuge, where we see this masked stranger interacting with a box of Wanderer's Secrets to talk to Wanda the Warsmith. Very interesting, a nice bit of lore reveal. We also see this masked individual bearing some other pages. We dig them up and we can, we get some more clues for other islands. Those are Sailor's Bounty and Salty Sands. On Sailor's Bounty, we find some Dark Brethren phantoms heading over a staff. Not a trident, but a staff, a silent relic. And on Salty Sands, we see them heading over the Gold Hoarder's Skull. On Cannon Cove, they fuse these pieces together with the help of Olga, the mystic from Golden Sands Outpost. And when we defeat the Dark Phantoms there, they also drop a note saying that they left a threat at New Golden Sands Outpost at the Weaponsmith. That's our next destination. We find the note quite easily. It's a threat against Wanda, which is pretty interesting. I really want to talk about that. But on the back of the note, there is a Sea Dog's crest. So instead of going straight to the Sea Dog's Tavern, because, obviously that's the next clue, we need to go to Belle first. And she says, yeah, you're right, you need to go to the Sea Dog's Tavern. So a little bit of setting, but oh well. When we get at the Sea Dog's Tavern, we interact with the masked stranger who is there. And she reveals herself to be Amaranta. We never saw it coming, but we did, because the trailer spoiled it, but that's fine. We'll talk about that too. She uses her staff to wedge a way between the worlds, and we see Merrick being captured by Wanda, and Duke is also in the background. But before we can do anything about it, Amaranta escapes to the Sea of the Damned and hints that they might be taking over the Sea of the Damned. But yeah, that's the final bit. They escape, and the adventure is concluded. So that's the summary, right?
Yeah, you got it spot on. I could have said it better myself.
All right, cool. Well, it helps that I do a review, so it's all in my head. So do we like this adventure?
Yeah, it's definitely the best adventure in terms of story. Gameplay definitely has something left to be desired because of the excessive sailing, but yeah, I would definitely say the story is the best we've had so far in an adventure.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you always need to have that expectation too with these adventures. Like the trailers really hype us up to exciting stuff, but don't expect the gameplay to be any different. Like it's always a story, and if you play these adventures, you get some more lore in there. You can't go wrong with these adventures. You can't be disappointed. Because what we do during these adventures, stuff we've done before, like finding a journal, reading notes, following ghostly footsteps, lots of sailing, and we've done that before. Like that's nothing new. So it's really the story that elevates these adventures, and the story is, I think, one of the best in this one. Yeah, for sure.
I do think this does set a cadence of the adventures where instead of them escalating, it's just going to be, how do I say this nicely? Underwhelming adventure, interesting adventure, and that's going to be the course from now onwards.
Yeah, in terms of gameplay.
Yeah, in terms of gameplay, if we get good story elements each adventure and reveals, then I'm not too fussed about it. But if we're just going to have the cadence of we're going to be sailing for 2 hours for each of the sort of non-conclusion adventures for the arcs, then it's going to get people going to get pissed off very quickly. People are already frustrated about this one, I think.
Yeah, I read it in the comments. The sailing was a bit boring, people said, but they all said the conclusion was really good, and they liked the story. So there you go. I didn't mind the sailing as long as the lore reveals were there, right?
Yeah, it took me about 90 minutes to get gameplay yesterday by doing the whole adventure again, which obviously is not very good, but it is what it is. It's a lot of sailing for even. I think it's the most sailing we've done on any adventure so far. Unless you count Thoughts of the Forgotten, where you have to keep sailing until the RNG blesses you with the last person you need.
Indeed, that can be really quick or really fast, that one. But the benefit of of that adventure was that the forts were really new. So you were still experiencing that new content during the adventure. So that really helped with it, not feeling boring. And we did need to go back to Bell, right? After we complete the journal, which was a little bit weird because we find the Cedos crest. So I was like, all right, we can go to the Cedos Tavern, but no, you need to go to K9 first for some reason.
I was like, this is a Cedos crest. I'm like, yes, I know it is. I do know it's a Cedos crest. I've been here since Anniversary Bell. You haven't. How do you know this is a Cedos crest?
Aye, indeed. So this adventure is called the Forsaken Hunter. But who is the Forsaken Hunter? Is it Merrick or is it Amaranta?
So I straight off the back say it's Merrick because he's the hunter that is now Forsaken. But you have a different spin on this, don't you?
Yeah, well, it could be a double meaning, right? Because we had the Seabound Soul, which people thought was Pendragon, but was actually Flameheart. Could still be both, but And with the Forsaken Hunter as well, like Amaranta talks about hunting down Merrick in one of her journals. And she's also referred to as, the assassin. So, and she has some, personality issues, which you could say she feels left alone and she has a need to belong. I guess you can spin it to make her forsaken as well. But I do think it's hints to Merrick. And we also know the title of the next adventure, which is the Hunter's Cry, and that obviously is Merrick. I think I don't know. I haven't played it, but it would make sense that it's the same hunter as well. But if it's a double meaning, I wouldn't put it past Rare, since they have done so in the past.
Yeah, especially considering this does firmly seem to cement this is Merrick's arc. So much for Flameheart's story being this year, it's now everyone's story, apparently.
But I like that, right? The Dark Brethren being on the foreground, that's nice, right?
Yeah, it's nice. It just feels if, when you started Shrouded Islands, you're like, this is part 1 of a 12-part epic series about how Flameheart's going to come back. And now we go from Flameheart to now talking about the Dark Brethren in Merrick. And it seems a bit soon. I'm sure they'll tie it all together, but it's getting very complicated very quickly.
Well, you need to listen to this podcast to keep it straight, right?
Yep.
But, this adventure is also setting up us going to the Sea of the Damned. And Flameheart is there, so who knows?
Too soon.
Probably, but just trying to connect it.
Yeah.
So let's dive into this adventure proper, because one of the first things we do in this adventure is go to Stephen's Port Seapost, and we find a note there. But that note, is obviously made to lure Merrick to K9, but there's also a symbol on that. So that symbol is a flintlock and a cutlass, and they're crossed. So have we seen this symbol before?
Yeah, so recently someone posted it on the Discord, your Discord, I can't remember who it was. It might have been yourself. It's actually from a tattoo
It
that you obtained
was
from.
me.
It was you. There we go. It's actually from a tattoo that's obtained through Umbra, where you have to find, was it 5 most wanted Easter eggs, and that symbol on the note is the same as the tattoo symbol that you get from the shop or when you look at it in your vanity chest.
I indeed, and as far as I know, that's the only place we've seen that symbol. So it's interesting that they chose to use it again. Do you think there's a reason for it?
Good reuse of assets? No. Um, with at the end of the adventure, you have Amaranta complaining that everyone blamed her for DeMarco's death, even though no one actually did that, at least inside the game. And I think it's playing on the fact that she was the most wanted at the time because of DeMarco being missing or murdered. So in this case, they're reusing that symbol to say, hey, look, Amaranta's most wanted, and she's using that symbol on her notes.
Yeah, I guess so. Do you think she chose that symbol on purpose, or did she just grab a note somewhere and just had the symbol on it?
I don't think necessarily anyone's thought that far. That she's had her own motivations. Do I own this symbol as a most wanted, or a rare just controlling my life, and I'm a puppet in this massive simulation that's called the Sea of Thieves? Who knows?
We do like to look deep into this in this podcast, but she is really dumb with notes, anyways. Since the last note she writes is a threat to Wanda, and on the back of it is a sea dog's crest. So I don't think that was on purpose. I think she just grabbed the first note she could find, which left a big clue to her identity. So
she got her notebook that was
Sorry, what was
complimentary. She got a notebook that was complimentary from DeMarco when the Sea Dog's Tavern closed as like a parting gift, and she just ripped the first page she could get out of that, and that had a big Sea Dog crest on the front of it.
I think that's the story. Indeed. But moving past from Steven spoils, when we go to K9, there's also some interesting stuff there. Like Belle, she uses her lantern, and we see Amaranta, and we kind of know that it is Amaranta because we recognize the mask from the Force of the Forgotten trailer. Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah. So she appears at the end of Force of the Forgotten with Wanda, and to no one's surprise, it did turn out to be Amaranta. So I guess we're just that good at being detectives as a community.
It was so easy. Like, that was my first reaction when I saw that trailer. And that trailer is now a couple of months ago. So when we played this adventure, we recognized the mask. We saw it in the gameplay trailer. Oh my god, that gameplay trailer is also really spoilery. But we recognized her. We also recognized the dagger, but that's more a subtle hint. But still cool that they did that because it's the exact same daggers as being used in the Sea Dog's Tavern. But we recognize the mask, so I feel if that Force of the Forgotten trailer didn't end, with how it ended, people wouldn't guess it straight away that it was Amaranta. It would have been a bigger surprise at the end of the adventure. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I agree. We'll discuss it later in the podcast, but I think Rare has a really big problem with spoiling things for their own game. So, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Indeed. And I'm also currently, at time of recording, I'm planning to make a video about it, which is probably already out when the podcast comes out. But they do need to watch that trailers a lot. They spoil a lot and they set up the wrong expectations as well. Anyways, back to this this ghostly memory of Amaranta killing Merrick. Belle is there, and Belle also tells us that this place, and she's talking about K9, holds more secrets than we know. So what do you think she's talking about?
The wreck of the Burning Blade is at K9. You heard it here, folks. No, I don't think she's actually talking about, extra things outside of this adventure. I think it's just showing that when we get her lantern, we can see how Merrick died.
Okay, so that's what I thought as well, and I guess it does make sense, but I do feel her wording is a bit strange. Like, why don't you say, I know who it is, and just let me know and I will reveal it to you? Because it holds more secrets than we know. Like, she phrased it like that. This place holds more secrets than you know. So I thought there was something up with that, actually.
I guess it remains to be seen because there's nothing that appears in the adventure that sticks out, is there?
There's a dog there. I mean, on K9 there's a dog. Well, on the adventure, yeah, in the adventures, no more hints. That's true.
Maybe we will return there in a later adventure and that will all be revealed to us. But as it stands, there's no new secrets that I would say that pertains to the story that are outright obvious anyway.
Okay, we'll see. Maybe for future content. If something does happen with K9, you heard it here first, folks.
Actually, I said this way back in my 2020 predictions video, or 2021 predictions video, that something's going to happen with K9. Didn't happen in 2021.
All right,
but
you heard it here second, boys.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Correct yourself.
So let's continue a little bit, because after K9 we go to Wondrous Refuge. And one of the first memories we see there is Amaranta using a rowboat to travel. But there are skeleton runes on there. So is that a Reaper rowboat she's using?
She must have stolen it because of Lost Sands. So right after Lost Sands, they were the only rowboats that we could use. So I assume she's just gone from the Sea Dogs Tavern to the Reaper's hideout and stolen it from one of the Reapers.
Wait, since Wanda the Warsmith is a part of the Dark Brethren, do you think they can read skeleton runes because she is a skeleton?
I assume so, because she would have decorated some of the hideout with them, surely.
And
we know Jim, just through looking through the box of Wondrous Secrets, he's decorated his hideout with skeleton runes.
Oh, yeah. I guess it was maybe Amaranta can read runes then as well, right?
Yeah.
She also used the box.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
Anything else you want to say about this?
The only other thing I can think of about the rowboat is that Wanda has lent it to her, and that's left over from her time as being the leader of the Reapers.
I guess so. You don't think there's any deeper meaning behind it, or maybe a use of the wrong asset? Maybe they want to use a normal rowboat. You don't think that?
Funny you should say that, because I can't see it mentioned in the script. But if you look at the Dark Brethren phantoms later in the adventure, they have the Servant of the Flames sword.
Yes, they do.
Why do they have a unique sword that's unique to a single character? It's like giving them, I don't know, the Gold Hoarder sword, or who else has got a unique sword in the game? Or like giving them the Mysterious Stranger's sword, something like that. It doesn't make sense at all.
It is really weird. The phantoms are memories, right? So maybe they're memories of Flameheart that, pledge their alliance to the Dark Brethren instead.
They don't sound like Flameheart.
It's a bit weird, yeah. Like we can explain the runes on the rowboat, like, oh yeah, they stole a Reaper rowboat, whatever. But that cutlass that the Phantoms use, yeah, that's a weird use of an asset for sure.
What's even worse is that the actual fighting Phantoms, when they turn into hostile enemies, they don't have that cutlass, so it's even more strange.
Oh, you mean before they attack you?
Yeah, so when they're just memories and they're like the cutscene ones that you can just walk through, that they're just replaying, they have the cutlass of the Servant of the Flame. But when they turn into enemies that fight you, they've just got the normal cutlass.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I need to pay more attention, but you're probably right. Well, interesting. Probably an oversight, right?
I'd like to think so, but why would you pick that specific cutlass? It's not like it looks like the Sailor Cutlass or like a Ghost Cutlass.
So what do you think it is then?
Maybe the art team just didn't know that was a unique cutlass. They were like, oh, this one looks kind of like a Dark Brethren one. We'll use this one.
Because the Reaper's cutlass is the Servant of the Flames cutlass, right?
Yeah, specifically the Servant of the Flames cutlass, the one we earn from doing the Haunted Islands, and the one we can get in the game, and the one that the Servant has in his right hand.
Gotcha. So, according to the lore, cosmetics aside that we can earn, there's only one of them, right?
I assume so, because it's the Servant of the Flames cutlass. Yeah,
unless he has multiple, or maybe below in the Reaper's hideout there's a whole armory. We don't know.
He's got a throne made out of them.
That's like Game of Thrones. Melt all together. But yeah, that's interesting. I think it's a mistake personally. I don't even know what it could be, right? Like, they are memories, so I'm guessing that the cutlass is also a memory. It's a bit confusing.
Unless they used to be Reaper Phantoms and they're using that as a memory to, they remember his cutlass and that's why they have it. That's the only
That's
thing.
true.
That's the only thing I can do mental gymnastics to justify for it.
Aye. So if any of the listeners have a better explanation of that cutlass, please let us know in the comments.
Or better yet, Mike
Yeah.
Chapman, if you're listening, please let us know in the comments or tweet us.
Aye. Please, Mike. You always comment on our videos. Please do it again. But let's move on from the rowboat. Let's move on from the phantoms for a bit, and let's discuss something else that's on Wanderer's Refuge. And I'm talking obviously about Wanderer's Workshop. When we go there, we can interact with the skull, and we move to the back room, and we see Amaranta using the box of Wanderer's Secrets to talk to the Warsmith who is in the Sea of the Damned. So how do we feel about this little revelation?
This is my favorite reveal in the entirety of the adventure. I think it also sort of justifies why the box of Wondrous Secrets appear in Shrouded Islands. But the fact that it reveals that you can use it as a way to speak to someone in the Sea of the Damned is pretty amazing. I'm very pleased with that reveal.
Indeed. It makes sense going backwards with Jim as well. He went mad, but I don't really know why he went mad exactly, but he was talking to Flameheart, who was in the Sea of the Damned. We can assume that, right?
Yeah, so I think this is a theory that I've had for quite a while now, is that when Jim opens the box of Wondrous Secrets, goes crazy and butchers the Forsaken Alliance, I don't think he's working for the Gold Hoarder, particularly because that, the boxes are not connected with the Gold Hoarder in that way. I think he's been working for Flameheart longer than we realise, and this sort of adds weight to that. And when he opens the box of Wondrous Secrets, he's peering into the Sea of the Damned, and the person he sees on the other side is Captain Flameheart. And I think this all but confirms it. Would you agree?
Yeah, totally agree with that. Yep, makes perfect sense.
Good. Nothing more to say on that.
But you did mention that they were using the boxes of Wondrous Secrets on Shipwreck Bay during the first adventure.
Yeah, so
we've
you go.
Yeah, so we've mentioned before in this podcast that there was probably a mistake in assets. The only one we can kind of confirm. I heard it from a source I trust. I won't say more, but those were probably meant to be Reaper's boxes. Do you still feel the same or different now?
No, I think they were meant to be boxes of Wondrous Secrets, and now we know how Flameheart Jr. has been speaking with his dad is through the boxes.
Yeah, but if you look at those memories in Shipwreck Bay, they talk about breaking the seals and letting out the Soul Flame captain. So I always thought that those were remains of Soul Flame captains. That's how I saw it.
But in the context of this reveal now, could they be pulling the Soul Flame captains through the Sea of the Damned using the boxes?
I guess that would work, but it's not really a route, is it? Because when we read the journal, the second journal on Wanderer's Refuge, it talks about the veil weakening because of all the ghost ships and the forts, and that other routes opened up, and the Dark Brethren used those routes to travel to between the worlds. But the seas calmed down a little bit, and those routes closed, and they said, well, we can't travel anymore, but we can communicate. So if you could use the boxes of Wondrous Secrets to travel, they would have said so, right?
Yeah, but don't forget, this was at the point when the veil would have been weakened on Shipwreck Bay, so they could have pulled the Soul Flame Phantoms through, Soul Flame Captains through, and maybe they just can't do that anymore because the veil is not as weak.
All right, so how do you picture that? Like a magic act, like magician, like a rabbit from a hat, like pulling the Soul Flame Captains from the boxes into this world? Is that how you imagine it?
Well, maybe they're pulling the soul through the box of Wondrous Secrets and the Reaper's chests, or the remains, and they combine them together to make the Soul Flame Captain. So they're not pulling a body through, but a soul.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. That makes sense. I hope we get some, concrete answers on this. Mike Chapman, if you're listening, please comment again. We would really appreciate it. Something else that happens in Wanda's workshop is Amaranta talks about a bargain that she struck with Wanda. So what is that bargain? What did they promise each other?
I don't know. It could be anything, really. You can have my Warsmith ship set if you
So-
like.
So also the thing that Amaranta needed to do to to keep up her part of the bargain was obviously killing Merrick, and I feel that was a sort of initiation to become a full member of the Dark Brethren. That's how I see it.
Okay, that's a good point, because very much at this point, Amaranta would still be considered an outsider, and she'd need to prove her loyalty to the Brethren, wouldn't she?
Aye, because she was not at the table during the Pies Life titles, right? She was not there, and Duke was, and Wanda was as well. So she wasn't, part of the upper management. And killing Merrick and maybe constructing the staff proved herself, and now she is a full member.
Yeah, that's true. I can imagine Amaranta being like, "Why do I have to kill someone? Duke's never killed anyone," and Wanda's like, "Yeah, but he brought back Captain Flameheart. Do you know how badass that is? Like, he didn't have to kill anyone. Look what he's done. But you just go kill Merrick, and you can be part of our team." It said it on the flyer. Okay.
What do you mean exactly with Duke brought Flameheart back?
Well, he didn't do it on purpose, or maybe he did, but he played a big role in bringing Flameheart back, didn't he? In terms of getting the Reaper's chest and the Dark Relics together for Wanda to bring him back, and Stitcher Gem.
Oh, okay, I guess so. Yeah, my mind's still a bit fuzzy. I do remember delivering those Reaper boxes to the Masked Stranger, but did we bring them to Duke?
Yeah, we used to have to bring them to Duke before Wanda.
Oh, do you think he was already, turning bad by then?
No, I just think he's stupid.
He didn't really look, stupid in the trailer, right? He looked like a enforcer, so to say.
Yeah, maybe he's changed, but something that I still don't understand is, he went away to apparently find the Heart of Fire, and he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
He found something else. We never find out what that was.
True.
So he's gone somewhere. Maybe he met with the captain or something like that.
Maybe, but that would require a lot of planning on Rare's end, because that was way before seasons, and I think the monthly updates just started around that time, right?
Yeah, I want to say he left during Seabound Soul, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a lot of planning. That's before they started with these adventures. And I always felt they start these adventures after a Pies Life, that the team got motivated to do more story stuff, and then they wrote the adventures. I mean, that's in my head. But if they planned it before, I mean, then they planned it even before Pies Life, and that's a bit too soon, I feel. So we don't know. I feel we will learn more about Duke in the coming months. Yeah.
Yeah, especially his motivations. He's probably the most interesting member of the Dark Brethren at the moment.
Aye, but I mean, why did his voice change? We don't know. Tell us, right?
It changed even before he was in a tall tale, which is impressive.
Aye, indeed. Twin brothers. Did you like the explanation of the other routes to the Sea of the Damned, by the way?
Yeah, it makes sense. I can't really fault that.
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, it's a bit dumb because we get the question during the trailer, like, oh, why is Duke alive in the Sea of the Damned? We don't know. And then this journal explains it. Oh, that makes sense. And there you go.
At least we don't have to wait 6 months for an explanation or a tweet.
I guess we don't. So something else they talk about in the Box of Wondrous Secrets is that Wanda has secured phantoms to their side, and in a later journal, I believe it's the journal on Salty Sands, we get some more explanation about these Dark Brethren phantoms. So phantoms are, memories. Like, we don't really know whose memories still, but whatever. But these memories, these phantoms, they pledged themselves to the Dark Brethren in this, I think, in the Sea of the Damned. But why? Why did they promise their alliance? Is it because they are simple-minded and they just need a goal to have? Or did did Wanda promise them something?
So the way I see it is that if they pledge their allegiance to the Dark Brethren like they did under Jones, they have a chance to return to the land of the living. And if the Dark Brethren are the ones to control who comes back from the Sea of the Damned, it makes sense that if you want out, then you're going to pledge your allegiance to them.
Hmm. So it's kind of like a similar promise that Flameheart did to his phantoms, we think.
Well, we don't know about the phantoms for Flameheart, do we? Officially, but we
No.
do know Dark Brethren did promise that, you know, when Jones became the ferryman, if you pledge your allegiance to him, you can still have your eternal life.
Hmm. Okay. So the phantoms want to be alive. They want to be a real boy. Is that it?
I assume so. You know, they want back into the real world. Who wouldn't? I can't imagine the Sea of the
Hmm.
Dam's a nice place to be stuck in forever.
Well, the cursed captain seems to be having fun, right?
He didn't choose to do that, though.
I guess so. I guess so. That could be an explanation, but I feel we don't really need an explanation because we also, get to reveal that the Phantoms are pretty simple-minded. So I'm fine with, because they need to have a purpose, and the first person they see is probably Wanda, and they're like, oh, like we need to follow something, otherwise we're just drifting in the sea of the damned. We want to have a purpose, so let's join the Dark Brethren. That's how I see it.
Right, I see. Okay, that's fair enough.
And we also see the reveal that, the explanation why we find so many orders. Obviously, it's a gameplay thing to point us to the next island. But Phantoms, like I said before, they're not really smart. Most of them, at least. Some Phantoms, that are more. There are Phantoms that are a bit more powerful, that are a bit smarter. Those do exist. But, the foot soldiers, not really. They need notes so they don't forget what their purpose is. And that's also the reason why we find those notes. So I thought that makes sense as well.
You got our orders.
Aye, indeed.
That's all that I remember from. You got our orders. Okay, fair enough. They're really, really hitting home the simple-mindedness of these phantoms.
Aye, well, you kind of have to, right? I mean, the stormtroopers, right? They get killed by the dozen.
Well, yeah, especially they get one shot.
One thing that did struck me as weird is they not the cutlass. We already talked about that. But the Phantoms, they also wear masks. But why do they wear masks? Like their memories, like they don't need to hide their identity, or is that just to show that they are aligned with the Dark Brethren? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the unique Marxists, the unique masks are to show that they're aligned with the Brethren and not the Reapers.
Yeah, I guess so. But that's a gameplay thing, right? So what's the lore explanation? Because it made sense for Wanda, right, to wear a mask because she was a skeleton. I always pictured her porcelain mask. Was one in the Reaper's boxes, and she found another golden mask for Flamar Jr. And it makes sense for them to hide their identity back then. But then we see Amaranta wearing it, and now the Dark Breath and Phantoms too. So is it a cult thing? Is it an alliance thing, lore-wise?
I don't know. I think with Amaranta, she's probably wearing it to sort of to make herself more like Wanda because she needs that belonging. Whereas Duke doesn't wear one at all, does he?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah,
Like,
that makes sense too.
Was it flattery is the most the best way of, I don't know. Imitation is the greatest form of flattery. There we go. That's what I think it is.
I guess so. And that makes sense with Amaranta. She needs to belong. She's a very insecure person, also a very angry person. And we see that throughout the story. So, yeah, that would make sense. Yeah. And Duke doesn't give a shit. He's like, I'm Duke. You know who I am.
Not so fast, old boy.
I do feel as that if that's a subtle hint to something, because he doesn't need it, but he does hand it over to Wanda. That was also weird in the trailer, wasn't it? Like, why didn't Wanda wear the mask, straight away? Where did Duke have it?
I don't know. Duke was cleaning it for her, wasn't he? Oh crap, he's here! Quick, let's go over before he escapes. She's early. He's early. She sent him early.
We'll go with that explanation. Another thing, when we're talking about the insecurities of Amaranta, she does call Wanda, the Warsmith, her sister now, and she obviously does that to widen the wedge between her real sister, which I thought was really interesting because Amaranta is influencing Wanda and not the other way around in this. I thought that was nice. But it does make me wonder, do they call Duke brother or is it just a thing between those two?
I think because the Dark Brethren is a fraternity by nature, you would call your fellow members sisters and your fellow male brothers. You know, your members would be brothers and sisters to you, wouldn't they?
I guess so. But do you think, and this is something else I've been thinking about, because the journals we find, pictured on those journals is Amaranta and Warsmith with their masks on in the shape of a heart, and underneath that there are five other figures, right? So do they symbolize a love or a leadership? And do those other persons symbolize the rest of the Dark Brethren? How do you feel about that?
I don't know about you, but do you sort of get love vibes from Amaranta and Wanda?
I do a little bit, actually.
She's very obsessive over her, isn't she?
Yeah, she is. But she's also obsessive with everything, right? Like she was obsessed with killing the children of the Pirate Lord too, right?
True. I don't know. I just feel like this. I know it's obviously a fraternity and it could be like family love, but I don't know. The way she's obsessed about Wanda makes me think that she fancies her.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I mean that heart shape kind of gave it away for me. There's something going on. Yeah.
It's almost like
I mean, I don't.
the Brethren Phantoms depicted in the book are like witnessing like a betrothal, something like that.
maybe. I just saw it as her personal drawings, how she feels about Wanda. Yeah, interesting either way. We'll see if the story goes in that direction, but it could.
And if Amaranta comes out and declares a love for Wanda, I will pretend to act shocked. Okay, I promise you.
Aye, indeed. So let's talk a little bit about the staff. That's a big part of this adventure as well. Obviously, the killing of Merrick, but also the construction of a scepter, I think it's called. And to make the scepter, they need some ingredients. They need a sort of trident, not really trident, sorry, more a siren staff that they got from a treasury. And they also need the Gold Order skull. So let's talk about the staff first. There's not much to talk about. It's just a siren staff found in a treasury. Or do you think there's something more with that?
No, it's just a trident.
Well, it's not really trident, right? Because when you look at the memory, it's shaped differently at the top. Don't know if you saw that.
I mean, it looks slightly different, but it's still a trident. I don't think it's a unique piece of siren artifact or whatever you want to call it.
Okay, you could be right. I looked at my footage. I thought it looked a bit different. But when we put them side to side, we do see that they're the same. Doesn't really matter all that much. The Dark Brethren, like the Phantoms, found it in one of the treasuries, and they delivered it back to Amaranta. Nothing more to it. The other piece, however, is very interesting, and that's the Gold Order skull. But before we discuss that, I have a message in a bottle from Ewash that talks about this. So I'm going to read his question first. What do you think of the developments with the Gold Order? I think it's weird for his eyes to be Veilstones since they don't look like them at all. And he had what could have been Veilstones on his throne anyways. Also, do you think we'll see him resurrected again, or is it more likely he'll stay dead? So really interesting questions from Ilwash. Let's dissect it. Obviously, the Gold Order skull, they found it in the core fortress where we last defeated the Gold Order, and they need him because of his Veilstones that are set as gems in his skull. So Ilwash thought it was weird, since they don't really look like Veilstones, and he might have had Veilstones in his throne. So how do you feel about this?
Yeah, really strange how the stones are different shapes. I mean, they're the same color, and the ones on the throne do look more like Veilstones. I feel like this wasn't planned out from when the Gold Hoarder's character design was finalized, and they've just sort of adapted it to his character. I like the reveal, don't get me wrong, and I think it's really cool. And it also makes sense as to why he's so crazy, but also there's like a few plot holes. Like, how does Wanda know that without Rathbone telling her? How does the Pirate Lord not know that? And how does Belle not know that?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they heard a rumor of the Veilstones being in the belly of the gold, and they put two and two together and was like, oh yeah, that must have been the stones in his skull.
So then, does that mean that Flameheart Jr. was talking about in the belly of gold? They were actually talking about Rathbone's skull in the teasers, rather than the Shrouded Ghost's
Oh
belly.
yeah. No, that does sound more like the Megalodon, to be honest. Because he's not really moving, he's seeing, right? He's not moving, he's seeing.
But his mind is moving between worlds, isn't it? And he's in the belly of gold. So they've
I,
obviously done it as a double meaning.
yeah, I guess you could spin it like that, yeah. I actually really like this explanation. Obviously, I agree with you, it's done retroactively. Otherwise, there would be hints in the novel, and there aren't any. Because he went mad with the greedy curse, right? Which amplified his own greed. But this is another explanation. Like, I don't see it as the definitive explanation why he went mad. I think there's different factors going into that. But this is one of them, and I like the explanation.
Sorry, yeah. As you were saying that about hints, there is a hint towards this being a thing in the Heart of Fire. Hang on, just let me get the exact quote up. Okay, here it is. I am run. Okay, right, let's try that again. I am run proper ragged. It's so hot down here I can hardly breathe, but guess who's got to make sure all the traps are working? I don't dare complain though. Rathbone could be scary, but most of the time it was like you won in the room. Only his gold mattered. So I don't know if that's a testament to Rare's writing, but Rathbone was scary, but it was most of the time you weren't in the room. That's because he wasn't even in the room because he was looking into the Sea of the Damned for his eyes.
Yeah, I guess you could interpret it like that. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the way I see it. Like, Rathbone was always sat on his throne, wasn't he? And he just wasn't really paying attention. And he's not even really paying attention in Athena's fortune when Ramsay walks up to him. He's literally just sat there like a statue, and he's obviously staring into the Sea of the Damned at the time.
Yeah, I agree. It does make sense, and I really like this little bit of lore. It is a shame that the shape doesn't make sense, but I always saw it as you find minerals and stones in the earth, right? And the ancients they think, oh, these have mystical powers. And we can shape them, and some of them they shaped into gems that fit in the skull, and others they fit into gems that fit into a masks, and that's just how I see it.
Yeah, so does that beg the question then? Would these fit in the mask then? Probably not.
No, probably not. And they also refer them, in the journal as twin veilstones, and I see that as them being part of a pair. So you need both of them, otherwise it won't work. Yeah.
Maybe they'll have to be cut to be put back into the mask.
Oh, you think we can cut the gems from the gold order so they fit in the masks? Is that what you think?
Yeah, I imagine so.
Yeah, I think that would work. We're not gonna see it, but I think that could work. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So to answer his other question, do you think we'll see him resurrected again, or is it more likely he'll stay dead now?
Yeah, so Ramsay made it clear that it's really hard to scrub away the stain of greed. We'll see the Gold Hoarder again in some capacity where he's been resurrected, and I think Rare's going to keep him as that sort of comical villain that just keeps coming back.
Oh, really? I think he's is done for the final time. I thought it was pretty lame he got resurrected in the first place. And I say resurrected, but we don't really know that story because we defeat them at the Shores of Gold, and then we delivered his skull to the Order of Souls, which is also really interesting because when you talk to Olga, the Order of Souls lady that made the staff that didn't she's done the magic. She always also said that she recognized the Gold Order skull straight away, and that everyone from her order is bound to recognize it straight away. So I thought that was really interesting because that hints to them already having the Gold Order skull in their possession once before. So we still don't know what happened between them owning the skull and seeing the Gold Order pop up again in the Pious Life Tall Tales. Unless you have an explanation for that.
There's literally no information about why this happened.
Again, Mike Shepman, please answer this in the comments. But I thought it was pretty lame to see him again with his barnacles. It was fine for what it was. I'm over it now. And I really like that his skull is getting used again. And we see a new asset being made. That scepter is new. And I don't see that, scepter losing its head again. I feel that scepter is going to be a big part of the story going forward. And that's the fate of the Gold Ruler now.
Nah, I don't think so. I think he'll come back again.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens. What do you want? Do you want him back, or do you want him to stay dead?
Not if he's going to be killed off in the same 10 minutes he's been brought back again, like he was in Dark Brethren.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to wait a year to find out. But yeah, if he's brought back, I want him to be an actual decent part of the story again.
Okay. All right. I think his story's done, but that's just me. But do we like the staff? Do we like this new item?
Yeah. It's cool that the staff is a conduit for the Veil Stones that can focus the power of it. So that also means that the Siren magic is very similar to the ancient magic, and they can harness the power of the Veil Stones.
I guess so, yes. But it only worked if Olga did the enchantment, right? You can't just, use a rope and bind them together. It won't work like that. So the Order of Souls also has some knowledge that helped with creating the staff.
Well, it makes sense, but this must be derived from ancient magic, surely, because isn't ancient magic derived from mer magic anyway? And the Order just know about that stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's not, like I say, Order magic, but obviously they got that knowledge from the skulls, right? How to do those rituals.
Yeah, I would say so.
Something that was interesting about that, because I think it's a journal, I'm not 100% sure anymore, but Amaranta said that Olga didn't complain in helping the Dark Brethren. Like, she did it willingly. She also said, Olga said that it was quite an easy ritual to do. But when talking to her, Olga said she feared for her life. So that's a different story than what Amaranta is telling us. So is Olga lying?
Is Olga lying? Well, I don't know why she would lie. I think that's just Amaranta twisting it to make it her not the bad guy.
Yes.
Because that's how Amaranta is. She doesn't think she's the bad guy.
I totally agree with that explanation. Indeed. Olga is also a really interesting character as well, because during the Force of the Forgotten, when you talk to Wanda, she talks about a captured ancient. But Olga does the same. She also talks about Flameheart capturing an ancient. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do.
All right. So, do you think we'll see that in the future?
What, they captured ancient?
Yeah.
Yeah, but not for a while.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the ghostly apparition we saw on Golden Sands when the Reapers were winning.
I think that also could be true, but I also don't think Flameheart's a captured ancient. I think he's lying to Junior.
He's lying to Junior about capturing an ancient?
Yep, I think so.
Care to elaborate?
Well, it's just how in Lost Sands, how Flameheart Jr. was talking about how discretion holds its place. And Flameheart is not going to divulge his entire plan to his son because that creates a weakness. I think
we'll find out in the future.
I think it's a red herring, basically.
Okay. All right. We'll see. I feel there's something up with that, and we'll see. We'll see that ancient they are talking about. Something else. We talked a little bit about the wedge between the sisters, that Amaranta is manipulating Wanda, which I thought was really interesting. But something else that I have to mention, because in the trailer we see Wanda. We know Wanda as a warsmith, right? And she had an apron as a skeleton, but there was nothing between her skeleton chest and her apron. It was really flat. However, now that she's wearing her dress, we can see she has some curves. She has some curves, which is really weird for a skeleton to have filled a bosom. So my question to you is, does Wanda use coconuts as boobies?
Yes. It's a way of attracting Amaranta.
I guess so. I feel they do stuff it because she's trying to hide the fact that she's a skeleton, But now she doesn't really need to hide the fact anymore, and yeah, she's filling them up.
Yeah, it seems to be a relic from the past when she was hiding the fact she was a skeleton. And she'd have to stuff her outfit to make it not just literally hang off of her because she's so thin.
Yeah, indeed, this is a necessity. Do you think she switches it with with I don't know, with a bigger fruit tribe to impress Flameheart? So I'm gonna see the boss man now. Better use my pineapples this time.
Wanda,
she's doing that.
Your breasts are looking less ample today. That's why you rejected her. Oh no, I forgot to swap to the pineapples. Get out. You've got nothing on the Siren Queen's calves.
It's interesting. I thought it was a cool catch. Shout out to Firebird, by the way. I made a short about it, but credit goes to him because he noticed it and gave me the inspiration to make a little short about it. But it's funny, and it's going to be in the back of my mind every time now.
Captain Blubber's like, Wanda has tits, but she's a skeleton. Does she stuff her bra with coconuts? Me. Wonder if Flameheart's an ancient. The different mindset of Sea of Thieves lore.
I made a poll about it, by the way. I asked what is more likely what's the most likely thing she's using to fill her bosom. And curse cannonballs are winning at the moment. So most people think it's curse cannonballs hitting there.
That's how she got cursed, wasn't it?
I didn't ask to be cursed, but look at these.
Look at these melons.
All right. Oh my god, next fruit type. All right, we talked enough about this. I feel like
it's like Genie's on the podcast again. The tone is lowered.
I bet he has an opinion about it too, as well. All right, moving on. I'm looking through the notes. We talked about the Dark Brethren having one ship. Or did we talk about that? No, we didn't. The Dark Brethren only have one ship in the Sea of Thieves, and that's probably the ship that was used in the Forts of the Forgotten trailer at the very end. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it had the Dark Warsmith cosmetics on it, so Wanda's been to the Pirate Emporium.
Indeed. I think she commissioned it. I think she made the blueprint herself, gave to the Emporium, and now we can buy it there, and she bought one of them.
It is kind of funny that they were talking about how she'd bring her Wrath down on Flameheart with one ship, and you're kind of like, what is she going to do to Flameheart Jr.? What is she going to do to Flameheart? Firstly, the Servant would kick her ass because the Servant's the Servant and he's a master swordsman, and Flameheart is in a different dimension, so what's she going to do to him?
I don't know.
Just murder some poor Spanish phantoms that just wanted eternal life. Cruel.
I do wonder where they stow away the ship, right? Where does that ship lay anchor? Like a hidden hideout, or we don't see it? It's just never there where we are in the seas.
It's parked behind the Coral Fortress.
Yeah, probably. We'll go with that.
No one's ever been behind it, have they?
Do you think we'll see it in future adventures, that Dark Warsmith ship in the seas?
No, it'll probably get swapped with an actual Wondersmith, and an actual Wanda ship set.
It makes me wonder if they plan for Wanda to remain a part of the Reapers, if they made that figurehead, and the Dark Brethren. That idea only came when the Pies Life Taldas were introduced.
I guess we'll never know.
I do like it. I really like the Dark Brethren as another faction on the seas. I do really like this aspect of the story.
Yeah, me too.
Something else that I really liked about this adventure is that the NPCs have new dialogue. So I think already hinted that Steven has new dialogue. He talks about wanting to steal Merrick's stuff. Merrick is gone. Better go through his stuff. Wanda has dialogue. She doesn't really care about the threat that she's been given, and she also thinks the writer is pretty dumb because of the Sea Dog's crest on the backside, which again makes me wonder what their history is, because at the top of the note, Amaranta talks about Wanda being the better fighter out of those two, so they do have some sort of history. It's also weird that Wanda didn't figure it out, because that threat is signed with A and it has a Sea Dog's crest in the background. So Wanda calls the writer dumb, but Wanda is also pretty dumb herself. And also, we've mentioned Olga. She feels threatened. She felt threatened when she needed to do that ritual. Poor Olga being kidnapped twice in the span of a few months.
So how would this have worked if Golden Sands was ruined then?
Well, maybe they would get another mystic from Sanctuary Outpost.
Guy from Galleon's Grave. No, Morris Peak.
If even more sailing.
Yeah. Yes, finally, we can extend this adventure from 2 hours of sailing to 2 hours and 20 minutes of sailing.
It's content. It's free content, boys. Feel we don't need to think about this all too much. All right, so let's go to the ending of the adventure. How do we feel about the ending? Do you feel it ended nicely?
Yeah, it's pretty one-way street, and what's going to happen next? We're gonna have to rescue Merrick, but it would have been a really big surprise if the traders didn't spoil it. What happened in the end?
Indeed, because it's set up like a mystery, like who killed Merrick, who's behind this, why is he not returning? But we already know those answers even before we started this adventure. So you strip away all the mystery, and then the gameplay trailer too. It straight up showed the ending. Like we didn't, obviously you don't know yet if that's the ending, but you already see that you are confronting this stranger and that she is throwing away the masks. So you already know that something like that's going to happen. Also, the staff was also revealed there. So I don't know, they should be careful with this stuff. I get it, because you want to excite those people. You want them to get to play the game. And those cinematic trailers too, they're expensive, and you want to explore the characters and their personalities. And if I can choose for a trailer with or without Duke, it's pretty easy what I choose. However, I'm spoiled because Duke being at the end of this adventure is such a nice reveal, even though we know he's part of the Dark Brethren, but still seeing him standing next to Wanda was pretty nice, because we thought this was only Wanda and Amaranta, but apparently Duke's also involved, and that's all spoiled. So great ending, but it could have been better.
Yeah, this is the thing that sort of is annoyed me about the adventures so far, is that the trailers often either don't depict what the actual story is going to be about, or they end up spoiling what actually happened. So I think the best trailer we had was Shrouded Islands, because that explained what's going to happen, or what happens before the adventure, but not what happens during it. Then in Thoughts of the Forgotten, we got Flameheart Jr. going to interrogate Wanda. We still don't know why that was, apart from the fact that he wanted her to be the weaponsmith, which we found out. And then we see Wanda and now Amaranta in the trailer. They're not even in the game for another, 3-4 months. Shrouded Deep was a good one. And then you go to Lost Sands. That was also what's going to happen in the actual game. But and now we got this one, which spoils the ending, shows the Sea of the Damned that we never go to, and they even spoiled who's in the adventure in the thumbnail. Like,
yeah,
the same happened with Lost Sands. Like, as soon as people saw the thumbnail, they were like, "Oh, we're gonna decide the fate of Golden Sands in this one." So, that's already spoiled what the adventure's about. So they really need to tone it down. It's probably too late because all the trailers are probably made by now. But we'll try again next year if there are more adventures.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like, obviously the scripts are written for those trailers. I feel they work 2 or 3 trailers ahead of time. So I feel Adventure 9, that trailer still needs to be made. But you think they're all done?
I think all the cinematic trailers have been done. Yeah, the turnaround time for those must be quite long.
Yeah, maybe they even started with those trailers when Duke's voice changed.
Yeah,
that would make sense, right?
Yeah, I just don't like trailers ruining things, and Rare's been doing this ever since. Well, they've ruined every single update story since. What was it? The only one they've never really ruined was Hungering Deep, where they didn't reveal the Meg until it was actually in the game, which was part of the appeal of it.
Yeah.
But now, like, you had, do you remember the Pirate's Life one where it just reveals the Kraken's head, and it just reveals all 5 of the Tall Tales in it, and there's no surprises apart from the Dark Brethren.
Yeah, it's true. I totally agree with that. Like, the Hungering Deep trailer was so good, even though it didn't show all that much. And now they've become more spoilery. But I guess it's a marketing thing. So people that don't really care about spoilers, but I think it's still the majority of the player base, but they just want to show the exciting stuff and get them to play the game.
Yeah, but for people who are really engaged in the media, really hate when your whole piece of media is spoiled by a trailer, like film trailers as well. Or like, imagine if they did a trailer for the book that's coming out and they just go, oh yeah, right at the end, Flameheart decides to destroy the Sea of Thieves because he used to be an ancient. Like, I'm just using that as an example, but imagine if that's the trailer. Like, oh, I don't need to read the book now, thanks.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, what was it with the Legend of the Veil trailer too? Or was it the deep dive? Can't remember.
Well, yeah, the deep dive was, oh, this is all your modules. This is exactly what it looks like. This is what the finale is like. Oh, and you get to meet ancients. And you're like, why have you put that in a trailer?
Aye, indeed. Yeah. So they need to be a bit more careful. Anything else you want to mention about this adventure?
No, I think we've covered most of it. Or everything I want to cover anyway.
All right. Cool. So let's go to the message in the bottle. For those who don't know, this is a segment of the podcast where our listeners can send in their own questions, and hey, we answer them. So if you want to send your questions, you can join the Salty Hippo Discord. The link will be in the YouTube description. So let's go to the first one. That's from Jack. How do you think the war will play out now that Athena has 3 stones and the Brethren have 2? And what will Flameheart do from here?
Well, so I think they've confirmed now that the Veil will be the MacGuffin for the rest of the adventures, or this entire story arc, not just the triple story arcs we have, whatever you want to call them. So it's all going to be a tug of war for the Veil and who can get all the stones together. But the fact now that the Brethren have 2 stones, and Athena's Fortune has the mask with the other 3, stones are slowly coming together for an easy steal from Flameheart, I think. And I think the last one is still in the chalice. I still think there are 6. So with that, I think maybe because the other 2 are in the Sea of the Damned now, that's easier for him to get. And all he needs to do is just get the mask then, and he's already in possession of the 6th. Once they're all together, he can use that to bring himself back from the Sea of the Damned.
That does make sense, yeah. Because there are 6 slots in the mask, right?
Yeah, so we just need to find out what the 6th and final one is, and I'm sure he already knows where that is. It would be interesting if he engineered the Dark Brethren to get a hold of the last 2 stones for him so they're in his grasp, so he can get them all together quickly. Almost like how Thanos gets the Infinity Stones together in a short amount of time, rather than holding on to them long term.
Aye. Yeah, indeed, that would make sense. But they do need to, refit those stones, right? Because the gems are way too big to fit in the mask.
I'm sure his ancient prisoner will be able to forge them for him.
Maybe. I guess you need only one eye to shape 2 veil stones for the mask, right? Because it's bigger.
Yeah, that's true.
Or maybe you can't. Maybe the magic will go away if you try to make 2 stones from 1 stone. Maybe.
Maybe they just have to be reshaped to fit the 2 lower parts of the mask, and then the chalice one fits in the forehead.
Yeah, it would make sense. All right, that's really interesting. So why doesn't Flameheart just steal the staff then? Why does he need all the stones?
I don't know. That's the thing. Like, Flameheart has many means of coming back from the dead, but I suppose he doesn't really have a body at the moment. So maybe the mask is something that he can use to make himself whole again, or he can use it to. Maybe he needs the mask specifically to execute his plans, because the ferryman is still an issue getting back from the land of the dead. So maybe he needs the mask to travel freely whenever he wants, and having the only partial strength of the mask or a stone won't be enough to bring him back fully.
Interesting. So yeah, again, I hope this answers your question, Jack. I feel Ray gave a pretty satisfying answer, actually. So the next question comes from Registella, with the next adventure hinting at us going to the Sea of the Damned. What do you think we will see in there?
Well, we're going to be rescuing Merrick, hence the fact it's called Hunter's Cry, and, Merrick's just been stolen away from us. But if it's going to be the Sea of the Damned, whose memories is it going to be? Is it going to be Merrick's? Is it going to be Wanda's? Is it going to be Duke's? Or is it going to be Amaranta's? So wherever we're going, it's going to be based off the memories of one of the 4 individuals involved in. It could be Belle's, but I highly doubt that. But it'll probably be one of the Dark Brethren's memories.
Yeah, I agree. Could be combination of all of them.
True, we could be hopping between their three memories and get a bit of exposition about the three of them.
Hmm. Maybe we learn about the coconuts.
Wanda's memory is just her stuff in her bra.
Who knows? We could get that all revealed. Maybe it's in the journal. We don't know. I do hope we get to meet Duke too in the Sea of the Damned, because he's been teased for so long now. I just want to meet him again and talk to him, interact with him, get a little bit more of his motivations. I want some clarity about that. Do you think it's going to be a known part of the Sea of the Damned or something entirely new?
What do you mean by a known part? Like somewhere we've been before?
Yeah, because we see in the trailer that was a known part, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was the entrance to Dead Man's Grotto. I think it was.
Yeah. So do you think we'll go to that place again? It would save assets.
Based on the turnaround time for these adventures and how quickly they come out, I don't think it's going to be a new island.
But they have been working on it as soon as they finished the Shrouded Deep. So
it's only 3 months.
they have a lot of time. 3 months. Okay. I'm not a developer. I don't know.
Especially when the
All right.
the art team's tied up with all the Emporium stuff.
Okay, I guess so. But yeah, I think we'll go to the Sea of Damned in the next adventure. I think that's pretty obvious. You had a theory about Flameheart also being in the Sea of the Damned, and we set out to rescue Merrick, and we open a portal back to the Sea of Thieves. But instead of pulling Merrick out, we pull out someone else.
It could be that in our attempt to rescue Merrick, we do succeed, but that also leaves the door open for someone to come back with us.
That's what I'm talking about. Do you think that's going to happen in the next adventure, or it's too soon?
Maybe, probably not before the book's out. Initially, I would say this is the adventure that Flameheart was going to come back based on arcs, but because this is Merrick's arc now, I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, no, I agree, and it would make sense to rescue Merrick as a finale to this arc. Yeah.
Yeah, but it does raise the question now that we are going to the Sea of the Damned, and then it does pose a threat that Flameheart can just show up because that's what he can do, really. It would be nice to see him in the adventure, but I doubt he's going to be in it.
Aye. Okay. So I hope that answers the question for you, Stella. So the next question comes from Uncle Albert. How do you think Duke is going to impact the future story, since he can't just be Wanda's brute? And I'll answer this first. I have no idea. There's so much things we still don't know about Duke. Like, we don't know his motivation still. Like, the only thing we do know is what Mike Chapman told us, and he said pirates are just trying to make their own stories in the Sea of Thieves, right? They're trying to choose their own path, and Duke chose this. This is what he wants to do, and that's the only explanation we got from Mike. So I feel we need to learn a little bit more to fully answer this question. But I do agree with you, Albert. Like, he can't just be his brute. There's got to be more to Duke, and I feel we will get that. But what it is, I don't really have any ideas. Maybe you do?
Yeah, I think Duke is going to go through a redemption again, and because instead of having a redemption arc after he got kicked out from the Bilge Rats, he went down a evil route where he'd turn against the Bilge Rats essentially. And I think he still is in a position to be redeemed because he hasn't done anything terrible so far. I mean, it's implied that there's going to be torture in Merrick. If anything, I think maybe Lorena can still bring him back if they reconcile.
Maybe. Yeah, it could be.
That, or he's a double agent now.
Do you think that's still an option for him to be a double agent?
Possibly. We just don't know enough about the guy to make a reasonable assumption.
Aye, indeed. The one thing we can say for sure, Albert, is we don't think he's going to be a background character. He's going to move to the foreground again. I feel that's pretty safe to assume, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll learn more about Duke's motivations in this story for sure. Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Frog Monster. Do you think that the Gold Horror will come back again because of the Dark Brethren having his head? Oh, we kind of answered this before, right? I think he's dead. I think this is his final fate. And Ray thinks he will get resurrected yet again because he's just a fun character.
Yep, spot on.
All right. The final question comes from Poem. Can you guys talk for just a second that Rare managed to do a reskin of an emote? And we can talk about this for several minutes, actually. I do agree with you, Poen. It was a bit disappointing, the emote. The rewards for these adventures haven't been all that great, in my opinion. I like the sales for the Lost Sands. I do really like the sales. But now we just get an emote, which is really weird because we have seen masks now. Those handkerchiefs that cover your face. So why not make a mask cosmetic too? It would be so cool to have this mask as a reward, but instead it's an emote, and it's a reskin of an emote because we had that mask before. Now it's just Amaranta's mask, which is granted is cool because she throws the mask away, so that explains why we got it. We just picked it up, so I do like it from lore explanation. But it's a pretty lame reward in my opinion. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, not to disparage anyone's hard work, but it's a reskin of an emote, a broken emote, that doesn't work properly, and we're kind of stripped for cosmetics, and these mementos were meant to be something that sort of kind of supplements it with unique rewards. Now we've got a recolor, and so does that mean we're just going to get recolored stuff in the future? I think it does. And yeah, it just seems like Rare slipping back into giving us recolored stuff rather than new cosmetics that we really should be getting in a game that's all about cosmetic progression, especially something that's time limited. So yeah, sorry Rare, but I think this sucks. Sorry.
We want to role play as Dog Breath and Rare. This emote doesn't do it. Also, you said it was broken?
Yeah, on a lot of models, their eyes and nose don't match up with the pirate models. So it's a bit skew with, and sometimes as well, your features can clip through the mask, so it's not a very good emote.
I heard that before. One of my subscribers said he had a very big nose, and that nose just clipped through the mask, and it was very comedic. But obviously, the emote is not working as it should. So yeah, a little disappointed with that. So yeah, that was the last question. So thanks again to those that submitted their questions. If you want to submit your own questions, make sure to join the Salty Epic Discord. I always post an announcement when we are close to recording a new episode. I mean, I usually do. I also want to remind our listeners that this podcast is also on Spotify and Amazon Music, so if that's more convenient for you, you can listen to us there. Keep in mind that new episodes premiere on YouTube first and will be on Spotify and Amazon a few days later. And you can also follow us on Twitter at BestCOT Podcast. Link to that will also be in the description. So, we've come to the end of the podcast, and I want to thank our wonderful co-host, AShinyRay, for being amazing. And can you tell our listeners where they can find your content?
Yeah, of course. Lovely to be back as co-host again. And you can find me at AShinyRay on YouTube. Just Google my net and just search my name on the YouTube search bar, and I should be at the top. You might have to put Sea of Thieves behind it, or you just Google Captaincy Update and my video should come up to the top.
Google will work. You're big enough now. If you Google Captain Blubber, you get hippos, which is still really cool. But if you want to find my channel, you need to type in Captain Blubber on YouTube. So yeah, that's it. So make sure you give this podcast a thumbs up and let me know how you feel about this adventure in the comments. Or maybe you know something that we talked about and it's like, oh, you're totally wrong with that answer, Captain Blubber. Just correct us in the comments, please do. So that's it. Thanks again. Do some hunting, use some coconuts, and have an amazing day.
Take care, guys. Bye.